devil is a rustler, and many are his men, who ride the plains and valleys, branding souls with death and sin. If you're a Christian cowboy, then saddle up God's word, and save a soul that's straying toward the devil's herd.
Swing into the saddle, Christian cowboy. Start riding and start riding hard. Search the canyons of sin for the souls of men. Bring in the strays for the Lord.
I was born 1952, and I was raised all my life in Florida. We moved here after 2 months after I was born, and my dad was a pastor, and he's been a pastor all my life. He was called to preach and went to school there in Lakeland, and started Bonnie Baptist Church. Before he did that, I was raised in that area. I had 3 older sisters, an older brother, and a younger brother. 6 kids, and I'm the next to the last. There's about 7 years difference between me and my older brother, so me and my younger brother, Ricky, are probably a little closer to each other because of that. And then my dad was a pastor, as I said, growing up, and I never knew anything other than church and the gospel. That's all I ever knew. We all went to church, and Dad took care of us, watched after us, and just helped us be good and solid people as far as our relationship to each other and to the Lord. And then as a little kid, I always was in love with the Cowboys. I always loved Gene Autry and Roy Rogers and Hopalong Cassidy and Lone Ranger and Cisco Kid, all those. And I've got pictures of me with my cowboy hat, my cowboy guns, and my boots. I always got to have my boots. And we did real good through years, grew up. Daddy pastoring, he ended up in Ocoee outside Orlando about the time I was in about the first, second grade. And then my mother came down with TB and tuberculosis, and nearest center they could send her to was down in Lantana, Florida. And so my daddy, pastoring in Ocoee, Florida, resigned his church, was planning to find a place or a job or a church near Mama. And then he found that there was a place in Tampa, which was closer. So he moved her to the Tampa Sanitarium. And then he, through one of the members in the church, they connected him with Westside Baptist Church, and that's how we ended up in Plant City. Came here, and Daddy pastored there about 9 years. So I grew up there, went to school there from about till in second grade, third grade, right on up, and got to know a lot of people, still know a lot of people. One of my dearest friends, Mike Holland. I was in 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th grade with him. Also had a lot of other kids I was in the school with, Kevin Epps, and different ones through the years. And we knew each other and had a good time, I thought, and grew up in a neighborhood called Slabtown. We always called it Slabtown, a very poor section of Westside Baptist Church where Daddy was pastoring. Good people in the area, just hardworking, poor people. I fought with them and played with them, spent the night with them, and ran around with them. And there at Westside, have special memories there, special memories of family, special memories of taking care of different members of the family. My niece Terry, when she was little, we kept her every now and then, and they, especially when they come up to visit with us, or we. So I was like a big brother more than just an uncle to her. Held her one time and laid on my back on the floor, and I was picking her up and tossing her in the air, and so she barfed, and I turned my head and it hit the side of my face and all down the side of my face, and I think she still enjoys that memory to this very day. And I had a very happy time at Westside, and grew up there, went to Tomlin, and went to Plant City High School.
What outfit do you ride for? Are you the devil's hand? Or is the Lord your foreman and the rugged cross your brand? Is hell your destination or heaven your reward? You're working for the devil or you're working for the Lord. Swing into
The Lord saved me and called me when I was about 9 years old to Himself, and baptized by my dad. And then after about about 9 years, a little over, my dad felt called to go to the mission field in Mexico. And he left during my junior year and went to Mexico. I went down with Mom and Dad planning to stay there. But I came back and spent my senior year in Plant City. I graduated Plant City High School. After graduation, I did go down to Texas. My mother and father had moved up on the Mexican-Texas border. When I came back, the church had changed some drastically as far as attendance because they had a big bus ministry with a new pastor. And in the bus ministry, they brought a lot of young kids in and young teenagers, and that's where I met my wife, Charlotte. I'd come back, and the first Sunday I was back, Kenny Kirkland, who ends up later leading singing for us, Kenny Kirkland was running a bus ministry and asked me that morning, did I want to go on the bus route with him? And I told him, of course not. I didn't want to ride with a bunch of kids. And so I got to church and walked in Sunday school. They had a general assembly, and all the young teenagers, young people were coming in there. And in walked Charlotte with her friend, her girlfriend Cindy, and she walked in, and she was wearing a light baby blue dress on, sort of reddish from the sun. She'd been out in the sun, got a little bit too much sun, carrying a pillow so she could sit on the pillow. Came and sat down right beside me in the General Assembly, and I thought, well, maybe this is somebody I could get to know. Then I went into church, service, sat there, and I was sitting with her and her girlfriend, and then I got up to go say hey to some of the people I grew up there with at Westside. As I walked out to get ready to go out and sit at Kenny Kirkland's car and wait for him to finish the bus route, I heard somebody yelling from the bus, hey, Mike, come ride the bus. I felt the Spirit move me to ride the bus, and so I got involved in bus ministry. Lord gave us a heart for each other and a heart for Him, and from that we moved into a commitment to each other, to love each other, and to be married, and we were looking forward to that time. So we planned a marriage time. It's a bad time to plan a marriage ceremony for the 27th of December, 2 days after Christmas, but we did that because my mom and dad would be coming in from Mexico. And we wanted my dad to perform the ceremony, which he did. And the church gave us a wedding shower. We celebrated together, and then, but we got married that night and went home and for a honeymoon, and had a little apartment we rented. We went there for that night, and got the next morning, went to Kissing Cousins Restaurants in downtown Lakeland, and celebrated our marriage together. And we've been just blessed by God with that. Then we were married. Got married in 1971. In 73, God blessed us with our oldest one, Michael John, and he was born. And about 2 years later, in 73, between then, I'd always felt called to preach ever since I was in high school. I'd surrendered to call in high school, but I'd never pursued it. Didn't go to school. Hadn't found a church or done anything. And about the time Charlotte was pregnant with Christy, North Florida Heights Baptist Church had called me and to come as a prospect to be their pastor, and I went and preached for them, and they called me in spite of that, and I look forward to that. And then we set up a time for my ordination, and I was blessed to have my dad there as one of the speakers at my ordination.
You're working for the Lord,
Swing into the saddle, Christian cowboy. Start riding and start riding on. For the Lord, search the canyons of sin for the souls of men. Bring in the strays for the Lord.
I was at North Florida Heights, and wonderful church, wonderful people. I went there the first Sunday of October, and then while we were there in Lakeland, we at North Florida Heights, I just had 17 in Sunday school the first Sunday, and we got involved with the bus ministry, which had a big impact in the neighborhood. A lot of kids came in, and we ended up baptizing 35 people, and just a lot of people coming in, a lot of kids, a lot of adults. Chuck and Chris Johnson, they were wonderful people. And Chuck was not raised in church. Chris was, but Chuck wasn't. And she was saved in November, and he was saved and baptized in December. And I thank God for them. They've been a good impact in my life. And I had Melvin McLean was a great deacon. He and his wife, Rita, and they were sweet, sweet people. They ended up teaching me a lot. He has a great heart for the Lord, and he led singing for us. His daughter, youngest daughter, Julie, played the piano for us, and they were good people, had a good spirit, and I mean, I've been there, and they'd seen a lot of zeal, but not a lot of knowledge. And the Lord blessed us to have a good spirit, good times. I have great memories of North Florida Heights. We headed to Baptist Bible Institute, which was in Graceville, Florida. Spent about 2 semesters there, and somehow somebody got my name at Mount Carmel Baptist Church in Lake City, Florida, and they contacted me, and I went over there and preached for them, and they extended me a call. And while we're there, as soon as we came in, moved there in about March, and while we got there, Charlotte was pregnant with our youngest one, Timothy, so he was born there, and I got wonderful memories there. George and Jeanette Tompkins was a deacon, his wife, and they adopted us and watched out, provided for us. They had myself and Charlotte had the 3 young kids. So we had wonderful times there. While I was there, I got to go to school, and got to graduate from Luther Rice Seminary. Did bachelor's in 3 years while I was there, and God had somebody stepped up. I owed about $2,000 before I could graduate, and they stepped up and paid my bill so I could graduate. Ronnie and Lee Smith did that, and I just was overwhelmed by their generosity. But that's the way our God works and what He does in our life. And I learned a lot there about dealing with people, and especially dealing with deacons and other leaders. It was a good time.